A 10th American tourist has died while vacationing in the Dominican Republic. According to the National Police there, the latest man to die had been receiving medical treatment in a local hospital for a possible heart attack. This marks the most recent unexplained death in the country in an alarmingly short period of time. But Dominican officials assured tourists that the recent deaths are to be expected statistically. A State Department official told the Washington Post a small FBI team has partnered with local authorities to investigate toxicology reports that some experts are quote, consistent with poisoning. Though the U.S. has not issued a travel warning, some people have canceled trips to the DR's all-inclusive resorts.
So weird.
This is such a weird story that it's really important to keep an eye on.
Right.
We don't know if this is targeted poisoning of American citizens, whether it's just straight up incompetence by some of these all-inclusive resorts who are bootlegging alcohol, and that's what's causing this. But it needs a lot of scrutiny because so many Americans go to the Dominican Republic.
Well, and the other explanation is, which they seem to indicate, well, I mean, some people statistically are going to die on vacation, and maybe this isn't out of the ordinary, but
that's not acceptable.
Right, and you had, a number of people who all died at the same resort,
or
like within a very short period of time. Or people going to a concert,
all falling ill. I mean, what's really freaks me out is this is all American citizens. It's not, I mean, if anybody's been to the Dominican Republic.
Healthy people who just...
Completely healthy people who have a drink and then dead. They're dead in the middle of the night. It's really, really troubling.
Interesting. We'll keep an eye on that one. Okay, this is a weird turn. A satanic prayer that opened at a government meeting in Alaska prompted a walkout and protest last week. Iris Fontana, a member of the Satanic Temple, secured the right to open the Kenai Peninsula borough meeting after the Alaska Supreme Court struck down a borough policy that only allowed members of official organizations with an established presence on the peninsula, which sits about 75 miles south of Anchorage. You may remember the Satanic Temple from a story that we brought you earlier this year. The group was the subject of a documentary called Hail Satan, which focuses on their efforts to preserve the separation of church and state and to fight against what they perceive as the privilege of the Christian right. Fontana's prayer, during which she declared Hail Satan, set off something of a firestorm. About a dozen officials and attendees all walked out of the meeting. That includes the borough's mayor. Protests drew 40 people, including one man who the AP reports flew all the way to Alaska from Pennsylvania in order to walk out of that meeting, apparently. Okay, so are you familiar with Satanic Temple?
I do not know them.
Okay, so
they're very active on Twitter.
Right, so I had covered some stories about them before, but I didn't know that much in depth until I prepared for this interview on this documentary. So I had always thought that they were mostly like a performance group. Like they do things like this, offering the prayer at a public meeting to point out the hypocrisy of, we say we have to have these, 10 commandments outside of public buildings or whatever, but if I erect my statue of Satan, then people are going to freak out. But we should all be treated equally with our religious beliefs. So I always thought it was more performative. But it turns out they actually do consider themselves like they're more
Satanists?
or less atheists, but they do have a sort of cohering set of beliefs and principles that could constitute religion. So they are a very interesting group. But yeah, they'll do something like 10 commandments outside of a courthouse. They'll be like, great, that's fine. I'm going to put my statue of Satan right next to it. And because you shouldn't be preferencing one religion over another, that should be all good with you, right?
Well, that's a strange one.
It is a weird one. The people are pretty interesting.
All right. Free speech is under attack right here in America. No, I'm not talking about fight against political correctness. I'm actually talking about knitting. Pro-Trump knitters may need to find a new space to sing their praises of the commander-in-chief after Ravelry, a knitting and crocheting website with over 8 million members, announced it is banning support for President Trump. In a post explaining the new rules, the website said it can't allow support of white supremacy and that, quote, support of the Trump administration is undeniably support for white supremacy. Ravelry clarified that it's perfectly fine if you support the administration privately. You just can't post about it on the site. The site also notes that it is not for endorsing Democrats, nor is it banning Republicans or conservative politics. It's only outlawed open support of President Trump. Ravelry did not ask users to weaponize or entrap users with that new policy.
This is an interesting one. So
can people just knit? Like, can we just knit in peace?
Sagar, just admit that Trump has ruined every aspect of American life. You can't
I don't think it's
knit
Trump's
without
fault.
It being like a thing.
That's not Trump's fault. That's like whatever this progressive, cosmopolitan, performative, woke liberalism is. It's ridiculous.
Apparently they had to, they removed a pattern for like a build the wall hat.
Oh my gosh.
But also, like, why are people talking politics on a site also?
Go knit in peace. Don't talk about politics. Don't, knit whatever you want for your kids, but just everybody calm down. Like, I just it's so ridiculous. Because this is what we can expect in the 21st century. This technology is ruining everything.
Everything is ruined.
Yeah.
The end.
Tomorrow on Rising, Dr. Mary Jean Creek reveals why studies linking marijuana to reduce opioid use are not credible.
And Team Rising will be back in the house. Everybody have a fabulous Monday. We will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.